what can we do through the process of reflection? So welcome, this is Lori Raupe, and I am on Your Message Matters because it does. On this show, we talk about all kinds of things. Here, let me get the volume again. Let's see. We don't want it muted, but we do want it down. Thanks for your patience with me this morning. So on Your Message Matters, we talk about all aspects of nonfiction books, whether you are writing a memoir with a mission or memoir with a purpose or any other kind of thing. Self-help books, all kinds of books that are nonfiction are so valuable because as we learn and grow in life, we can share what we know, what we've learned with others that are struggling with the things that we have learned, what we've conquered. And one of the things that I do this time of year, but trust me, this can be done any time of the year. In fact, many people say you should do this practice daily. So whether you do it daily or if you do it annually or monthly or periodically, quarterly maybe, no matter how you do it, these principles are so important to success that in my research in looking at people who are highly successful, they have these practices. And so I wanted to share some of these with you. I know in my very first book, it was set up so that you read a chapter, you celebrate what you learn, you reflect on it, think on it, really put it into practice. So it's kind of 3 steps, right? You read something, you learn something, you celebrate what you've learned, and what do you do next? Let me make sure that we are okay here. I'm getting messages and I just want to make sure that everything's okay. Yes, I think I'm good. Okay, wonderful. We're good. Thank you for helping me. I sometimes feel like I need a lot of help. So today we're going to be talking about, in fact, over the next few weeks, we're going to be talking about what does it take to paint a better picture or a bigger picture for your future? What are the principles that we can all implement if we haven't already that will really make a difference in the year to come or in the month to come? I encourage you to start looking at some of the ways that you can change what you do and how you do it, because it is in the celebration of what we've accomplished and in the reflection of what we've done and how we've done it that really helps us view our future differently. So thank you for being a part of this show, whether you're watching on the recording or you are watching live. I appreciate you. I always enjoy bringing good content to you that I think will really help you on your author's journey. So on this show, a lot of times we talk about overcoming challenges. We talk about the lessons we've learned. I interview authors who have already written books and can offer some insights on what they've learned. I have some great guests coming up and I'm excited about that. Sometimes you get me. I am also an award-winning international #1 best-selling author, and I know what it takes to help other authors because after I created my first book, I found that the process was so exciting and people started asking me to help them that I decided to establish a full company where we serve people from every aspect of your book process, whether you're trying to figure out what idea to go forward with, whether you're in the manuscript process of developing that, whether you need help publishing or promoting, we do it all on this show, but in the business that I have outside of this show. So today's topic is painting a better picture with celebration and reflection. And these are 2 practices that I think when I look back on my journey of success, of the things that helped me the most, these were the two things. And I tell you why, because I think oftentimes we forget to celebrate our successes. We're quick, very quick, to beat ourselves up with shaming and blaming and all kinds of things when we make mistakes. But do we give our celebrations any attention at all? I truly think that it's time you started if you haven't done it yet. Because when we do the celebration and reflection on what's working, what's not working, we really can up-level and paint that bigger picture. So the first thing I always like people to do as you start planning for your future, and just as a point of reference, this show is evergreen. So people a year from now or 6 months from now may hop on and see this program. So as I'm recording it though, it is November, and this is the time of year, or one of many times of year really, that I go in deeper with trying to figure out what were my goals a year ago? What did I accomplish? What got left behind? And was that a mistake or was it a good thing? So I take a real full, hearty look at everything that I've done and what I still want to accomplish going forward. And again, this process can happen daily even. But when you take a 1 year picture, I like to do that at about the halfway mark during the year, like June or July. I try to start in June to be ready for July. And then this time of year, because of the holidays, it gets very complicated. So starting in November, I start thinking about, what is the next year going to look like for me? And how can I help you and serve you better? So we face reflection like a scientist. It's a fact finding. Be like a researcher. You're not looking for what happens to me. Is I start looking back and I go, oh man, I didn't get that done. And I almost start to panic and get anxious because I think, oh, I only have a few weeks left of this year and I still want to get something done. I have to tell you, I can be brutal inside my own head, but I'm grateful to say that over the years, I realized that that is really not a good way to operate. We do have to give ourselves grace, don't we? And I think that's why I like to start with the celebrations. So I wanted to share with you a method that I use to do this celebrations and reflections and then actions. So I start looking in my past, and I do it two ways. One way is on my cell phone. I will take a look in the photos section and I go back a year or so. Like I say, I do this halfway too at the June or July mark. So I'll go back. Sometimes I do this at the end of the month. In fact, I've been thinking lately, maybe I need to do this at the end of each month and then recap the 12 months. If I have time, we'll see. We sometimes can get so bogged down in these rituals that we want to do to accomplish things that we forget we really need to take action. So I'll have to evaluate that in the next few weeks of how I want to implement this again and again into my future. But I take a piece of paper, like a legal paper, and I will just start, I just have, for a sample, I just started it on this one. So what I do to start with is I just start listing events that happened in my year. And I will go to the photos section first on my phone. It is so much fun to go back into your photos and look at all of the things you've done in the past year. If you've never done it, you really should. It's fun. Of course, you could go way back fast or further than that, but for the sake of this exercise, I just go back 1 year. And I start writing on my notepad the things that happened during that year. I also do the same sort of going back process in my calendar. Now I have a phone calendar And anybody who will tell you about time management will tell you just have one calendar. This is my struggle. I put some things in my phone and I put some things in a big planner where I every day take notes about the day. I plan my day. I put the big 3 things I need to get done for the day. So I will go back to that calendar and go back 12 months. And everything that strikes me as something that should be on my list, I put it on my list. Then, once I've done all of that, I start going through my list and I look for things that I didn't celebrate. For example, one of the things that, as I was doing this reflection exercise, one of the things last year that happened that it was a goal of mine starting a year ago now. It was at the top of my list. I wanted to have a vacation with my family. And I thought, oh, wouldn't it be so amazing to take a week during the summer, get a Airbnb by the beach. I had it all envisioned. I could see it unfolding and how much fun we would have. So that was one thing on my list. Well, my daughter knows me pretty well now. She knows I don't need any new tchotchkes or I don't need any new clothes. I'm hard to buy for. But what she does know about me is I love making memories. That's what I really want to do. So in the beginning of the year, last year, she said, Mom, I want to do something for your birthday and my birthday, and I want to do it together. So what we did was we planned a weekend in Coronado, California. Now, Coronado is an island right off the coast of San Diego. It's easily to get to. There is a peninsula if you want to go to the south. There's a bridge if you want to go directly from San Diego downtown proper. And it is the most wonderful place. It is a happy place for me. I love going there. I go there somewhat often, but I don't actually stay on the island. So what she did was she got a hotel for us and we got tickets to one of my favorite things to do, which is the Lambs Players. If you live in California or Southern California particularly, and you can get tickets to a Lambs Players performance, I can tell you, you will not be disappointed. Well, last year they had a play or a sing-along almost. It was a play and it was history going back to the time of the song Respect. You remember that R-E-S-P-C-T. Well, it was all based on that and it was called Respect. And they brought all these different musical tunes and they had costume changes and we were singing along. And when I walked out of the theater, it was a heart-filling thing. I was filled to the brim and overflowing. It was so much fun. And I was so grateful for my daughter for helping plan that and make sure that it happened. Well, that went kind of along with the idea that I want to make more memories, but something was missing. Her husband, our children, my grandchildren, her kids, were missing. It was just the 2 of us. And although I would never want to not have had that experience, but I was looking for another vacation with the kids during the summer. Well, what I've realized, and this is what happens when we go through the reflection process. What I realized is I looked back and realized we didn't have our family vacation. And it wasn't because I didn't try. I kept asking, would this week work? Would this week work? Well, what about here? What about there? And we went back and forth quite a bit. But what I realized is my granddaughters are getting older. And my oldest granddaughter is working now and going to college, and she has a really busy life. It's not easy for her to take a week off out of town. Well, as you can imagine, when the summer came and went, I kind of felt disappointed. But I didn't give up. That's important. I didn't give up. I thought, okay, so what would be the next opportunity? And so the next opportunity is coming up here for the holidays, winter break, right? Well, I'll have to report back to you if it all works out, but we've got plans in the works to spend some time again doing some things and making memories for the future. Well, the summer could have come and gone, and I could have just said, well, forget it. That's not important. I'm just not even going to worry about it anymore. But in my reflection, I realized that those were the things I value most. And if I value something most, wouldn't that mean that you wouldn't just give up? Well, you can apply these principles with every single aspect of your business, of your book, of your life, whatever you do, whichever area of your life you want to reflect. You really want to reflect on your health, for example, your finances, whatever vocation you have or business you have, the way you create a living for yourself, the relationships, everything. You can go back and plan for the beginning of the year and then reflect to see how's it going. But make sure, like with me, as I went back and looked at the photos, I was celebrating the joy of all of the things that I had accomplished all year long. And it started in the beginning of the year with my daughter and I taking that little trip. It just was beautiful. So not everything's going to be beautiful and not everything's going to be roses, but you will find things that you can celebrate. And I encourage you, it feels awkward at first, at least it did for me. But sometimes I even celebrate with rewards. I'll have something in my life that I want to do, like, you probably shouldn't do this, but I do it. I will set a goal of weight loss, for example, and I will tell myself if I can lose 5 pounds by a certain date, then I will celebrate, not with food. I know what you're thinking. You're thinking she's going to go out to a big dinner. Well, I could. It's not that I wouldn't deserve it. But I try to reward myself with things that aren't food related because I struggle in the area of food, right? So if you go back and celebrate and go back and reflect, and on your list of all of the things you've written, all of the events, and you're going to have pages and pages of things. I did the first time I did it. I think I went overboard with all of the things that I wrote on my sheet. But in the reflection process, the other thing I do is I kind of label things, either red light events, green light events, or yellow events. And what that means to me is green light events, like taking a mini vacation with my daughter, that was definitely a green light event. That means I want to try and do something like that again. It served me well. I'm a speaker, so I love to go and speak at events, and I love to inspire audiences. This is one of my ways that I try to inspire people to think about their books, to think about their legacy, to think about what they're doing, to try and paint that better, bigger picture, if you will. So you choose all of the things, like for me, speaking. When I see speaking on my calendar, boy, I love that. And I reflect back. What was my message for that talk? Was it good? Was it well received? I spoke about a lot of different things last year, and as I went back and looked, I also looked for the audiences. Like, who was I speaking to? Was it different organizations? Was it different clubs, for example, or online? I did a lot of online things. So I went back and looked at that as well, and I labeled those things: red light, green light, yellow light. I maybe loved the group and want to go back again. And I might reach out then to the event planner and say, hey, if you have any appointments coming up or meetings coming up that you need a speaker, boy, I would love to apply for the job. And so you look at the different things and label them: red light, green light, yellow light. So the red light things, of course, are things that, wow, that really wasn't something I want to do again. It didn't serve me. It didn't serve my purpose. I don't want to do that again. And of course, the red lights are the things that you want to do more of and at least the same amount of. And the yellow lights are, I kind of call them the wobblers, right? They're not really like high on my list to be a green light, but they're not so bad that they were a red light. So I'll put those there too. And if I look for opportunities to do more red light things, then I take a look again at my yellow light things and I think, are there any of these that I want to try to schedule for the year? So I encourage you, I'm going to challenge you today. And you're asking me maybe, what does all of this have to do with writing nonfiction books? Well, I want to encourage you to look back at your life and think about the things that you've been through. If you haven't celebrated your life, celebrate. If you haven't written about it, write about it. What about that thing that you did in 75? You probably aren't even old enough to have a 1975 in your life. Maybe, maybe not. But maybe 5 years ago, what did you do? What did you learn? If you go back and practice this reflection, you may find that one of these things that you're reflecting on becomes a chapter in your book. And you want to make sure that when you're looking forward, if you didn't get your book done this year, well, don't beat yourself up. Just look for ways that you can get it done next year. When do you want to have it done by? Where are you in the process? Have you created an outline? That might be the first thing on your list for next year, to make sure that you look at that outline that maybe you thought about or you didn't write down. It was all up here. I used to say that a lot. Oh, I don't have to write it down. It's all up here. Well, what I've learned is up here is getting pretty full of stuff, and I'm not as good at remembering everything. I don't know if you'll find that to be true too. But it's important. It is important to do this time of reflection and figure out what kinds of things that worked well for you in the past and what kinds of things may work well for you in the future. What kinds of trips might you want to take? Who might you want to speak to? Are you afraid to speak? Maybe you might want to hone your skills as a public speaker. That's something I think all good speakers do. I'm always looking for new ways to connect with people, with other ways to say things that might be better received, or something that somebody will actually grab a hold of and take action. You know, I just love being able to have this opportunity with you, and I so appreciate your time. I know that time is one of the most valuable things that we have. And when you spend time watching one of my videos or coming here live, I want you to know that I really, really appreciate it. My heart is just full of gratitude when I see people showing up live. So remember, if you want to join this show, you can go to Your Message Matters, which is on Win Win Women TV. And I will be streaming periodically into YouTube and to Facebook. Many of the shows are available on Roku, Amazon Fire, and Apple TV. But do remember, you know, it's never too late to have a new dream. It's never too late to celebrate your accomplishments. It's never too late to have more accomplishments. It is just never too late. If you wake up and you have another day to live, how will you make it count? In your very own way. You can always create a bigger plan, a better plan. You can leave a legacy in this world, especially through your message, which you, if you don't have one yet, or if you're thinking about another book, don't forget, schedule time to write. If you didn't get your book done this year and you thought you might, look back and reflect. How was it that I had this whole year and I didn't get my book done? Look as a scientist, not as somebody that does what I do, and I beat myself up sometimes. And if you need help would you reach out to me? I have a Facebook group that I love sharing with people. It's called Write Your Book Now, Authors Helping Authors. And the beautiful thing about that group is that's what it is. It's authors helping each other. So if you have a question, go there and ask. If you want to help somebody with something that you do, let people know. I am more than happy to share this platform with people who want to help others. I love it because I think when we learn and experience things, especially when we've gone back and reflected and maybe made a list of all of the strengths and qualities that we have that we can serve and help others with, it's so important to be able to serve at your highest level, to know who you are, to know your purpose in life, and to really share that with others. Thank you for joining me today. I really appreciate you, and I hope you learned something. And better yet, what I'd love for you to do is take time today or tomorrow and reflect back on the last 12 months. Or if you don't have time to go back for a full 12 months, go back for 6 or even 1. You would be surprised at the things that you learn just by reflecting just in a 1-month period of time. Do it now, won't you? I hope you will. And take care, my friends. God bless.